Hi peeps, welcome back to my channel. So, there's nothing quite like recording an entire video and finding out you didn't have the sound turned on. Yep, that happened to me today. Anyway, so welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about how to best maximize your work time as a writer when you have chronic conditions or chronic illnesses. And actually some of the tips can go for other jobs as well as that of writer. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, sit down, pull up a chair, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you get notified when I have new videos out. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And we will get started here in a minute. So yeah, I recorded this entire video and I didn't have the sound on. So this is take 2. Hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother this time. So I have a list of 9 tips, and as I said, to me, I wrote them with writers in mind, but I think some of them can apply to almost any job. Well, maybe not all jobs, but a number of jobs. So hopefully you'll find something useful out of here, even if you're not a writer. People, that I deal with MCAS, mast cell activation disorder, and I have back pain from an old injury, and I have chronic tendonitis, and a couple other things that I deal with. And not every day is a good day, and not every day is that easy to power through. Now, I used to power through anything. I powered through my mother's death to write a book because we needed the advance, and they wanted it right away. This was many years ago. And I did it because we needed the money. I got to the point where I was proud of being able to power through anything. I could power through illness. I could power through feeling like crap. I could power through emotional pain. I could power through being upset. When I was with my ex-publisher and I was on deadline and they'd send me copy edits of another book that I should have gotten 2 months before so I'd have plenty of time, and they were just like, oh, it fell through the cracks, can you get it back in 2 days? I powered through. I did it. And I was proud of it. And what I didn't realize is, A, I was letting them take advantage of me. I was trying to be cooperative, because if you weren't cooperative, you may not always get another contract. And I was trying to prove that I could do it. I was superwoman, and I couldn't imagine myself as anything but superwoman. But superwoman kind of crashed along the way. When the MCAS came on, all of a sudden, I didn't control nearly as much. Yeah, I don't always have control over when I have a reaction. I don't always have control of when I'm going to be doped up on Benadryl. I don't always have control of when I am too exhausted to work. And I finally, after all these years, have decided to start listening to my body. And the past year, especially, I have made a commitment to myself to start listening to my body and treating it like the important part of my life it is. Without your body, you're not going to be moving around much. You're not going to be doing things. If you didn't have a body, you wouldn't be here. Bluntly put, you would be sitting in the astral plane watching, going, wow, I'd like to type, but I can't because I don't have a body. And frankly, I want to keep this body I want to get it as healthy as I can. And I want to keep it in as good of shape as I can for as long as I can. I am now 59 years old. I'm going on 60. And honestly, it's a daunting phase. I mean, it's like, I encountered my mortality early on. I really did. So it's not like I always felt immortal or that life would go on forever. That was Apple, by the way. It was just that I didn't expect to face some of the health conditions that I face now. And I didn't treat my body as well as I should have. And I'm not going to beat myself up for it. Nobody should beat themselves up for it at this point. You know, when you first realize I've been kind of an asshole to myself, okay, yeah, maybe you have. But now you can change. And you don't beat yourself up, because that's just adding more stress to the pile. You just go, okay, I need to make some changes, and I'm going to make some changes. So the crux of this video came actually from an email I got today, actually. And I was going to make a video about something else for Saturday, but this seemed like a good topic and a good follow-up to the last Living Disabled video that Sam and I made. And so, yeah, I thought, you know, this is a good topic because I know so many writers with chronic illness and disability and chronic pain. I know so many people with chronic illness and disabilities and pain. And if I can help someone make a couple changes in their life so that they are more comfortable and not pushing themselves to, you know, the brink of exhaustion, then yay, then I've done my job as well as a YouTuber. It's not necessarily my job as a writer, but I consider it important. So here we have it. 9 ways to adjust so that your job doesn't overwhelm you, so that your job as a writer doesn't sink you, and 9 ways to maximize your productivity while taking some of the stress off of your body. And I have decaf here today because it's the afternoon and I can only drink decaf in the afternoon and only once. By the way, I've started intermittent fasting. It's supposed to be excellent for type 2 diabetes. It's supposed to be excellent for MCAS. And it's supposed to be really good for just evening out your weight. And since I can no longer be as low carb as I used to be, this, I think, is going to help. I'm on day 4, and so far I'm loving it. So I may make some videos about that in the future. So back to my list of 9 tips and hints. Number 1, don't overcommit. Be selfish. We are taught to take on so many things out of guilt, or out of just the superwoman complex. You know, I'm superwoman, I can do it all. And I have done this in the past. I have done this ad nauseum. I don't know how many times a project idea has come up, and all of a sudden, you know, they're going, well, who could run this? Who could do it? And I'm like, I'm here, I could do it. Because A, that's my nature. With the Clifton Strengths Finder, you know, I've talked about that before in a few videos. I'm at number 1 as achiever. I want to achieve things. I want to do things. I can do them. I know I can do them. And with number 3, competition. I can do it better than somebody else. And number 5, significance. Hey, I can do it better than somebody else and people will notice. And all these things are fine. They're good strengths. They are what propel me into the work that I do.
A new station alert has arrived.
A new station alert has arrived. Talking about rain, which lovely. We have rain. Anyway, so all these strengths are wonderful, but they can push me into overcommitting myself and into acting like I can do far more than I can. Or I can do it, but I'll wear myself to the ground. And it goes back to that whole thing of Oh, we need copy edits turned around in 2 days. I can do it. I can do it. I can prove that I am worthwhile by doing everything all the time. Don't overcommit. Let your default answer be no. I learned that in another seminar or something. Actually, it's something I've read in a number of self-help books and stuff, but make your default answer no. You can always change and go, maybe I can help, if you really look at your schedule and go, hey, I do have the time. But that way you don't commit before you know whether you can actually take it on. And then be realistic with yourself. If you tell them, I'll let you know in a day or so. I mean, you can even go, I can't answer now. I'll tell you tomorrow. Really be honest with yourself. Is this something I can do? Is this something that won't wear me out? What if XX happens and I suddenly need this energy for somewhere else? Am I still going to have the leftover to work on it? The spoon theory. How many spoons are you playing with? Not just for a day, but for a month. How many spoons do you have for a month? And each day, do you have a spoon or two left over in case somebody wants something extra? And are you willing to use it on that? So, be selfish. Don't overcommit. Default answer, no. Number 2, figure out your biorhythms. As an author, as a writer, we generally have times when we find we work the best. Some people are morning writers. Some people are evening writers. Some people are middle of the night writers. What is your best opportune time for writing? Set those hours aside and let them be for your work. Because if you work when you are most alert and most jazzed about working, and when you have the most energy for it, your work will flow better and you will get more done. It's much better to say, logistically, while I would like to write from 7 a.m. till noon, I don't get up most days till 8, and I'm not ready to work till 9. So I'm going to give myself 9 a.m. till 2. Be honest with yourself. That's what a lot of this is being honest with yourself. Figure out what your best work methods are, hours are, and wall those off, barricade those off. Say, these are my hours for working. Especially if you're a career writer and you're bringing in income. Your family has to understand that there aren't going to be new video games or food in the refrigerator unless you are bringing in the income. And to do that, you need to work a certain amount of hours, and you need to make sure that those hours are times in which you have the best capability of doing your job. Number 3, monitor your body. Get to know your body's signals. A lot of people I'm surprised by how many people are disassociated from their body. And sometimes we disassociate because of the pain or because we taught ourselves to power through and not notice when we're tired. True story. Used to be when I was with Trad Publishing. I was really frustrated. And as I said, I was ready to drop everything. And do something they needed at any minute and then grab up what I was doing again and keep on going. And I missed holidays and I missed a lot of things. And it got to the point where I would notice that I constantly had the TV on. I constantly had music on. I constantly had Netflix on. Whatever. I had something going constantly. And that's how my playlists in my books came through, is because I started listening to music while I wrote. And yeah, it was an inspiration, but it was something else too. I found that when I would sit with everything turned off, when I wasn't working, when I'd just sit down and everything was silent, I would burst into tears because I was exhausted and I was frustrated and I really just didn't know what to do. And I was so emotionally wrung out and just physically exhausted that I would just burst into tears when it was quiet. Because at that moment, I could feel how much this was all weighing down on my shoulders. Now that I'm indie, now that I listen to my body, now that I've got my own schedule that I set and I'm writing what I love, I don't do that. I can sit with everything turned off and be comfortable. Big difference. So monitor your body. Pay attention. Are you tired? Are you eating because you're hungry, or are you eating because you're exhausted? That's a common thing that people mix up. They will eat when they are tired because they're needing energy, and naturally we think food will give us energy. Number 4, take breaks but keep focused. When I take a break, I don't go out and I don't go chat with my husband, and I don't go hang out with my assistant and just chat unless there's something that actually calls for it. I sit here, or I'll stand up and stretch and maybe walk around a little, but I keep my mind in the world because it helps me get back into the world again when I get back to writing. So when you take your breaks, try to keep your focus on the work and yet get your body moving and get yourself breathing. Number 5, on bad days, you need to forgive yourself. There are times when I cannot, write because I've had a horrible reaction the night before. And it used to be I'd try to power through. And most often what happened is I'd be sitting at my computer, staring at the screen, yelling at myself because I couldn't put words on the page. There are bad days. You need to forgive yourself. You need to accept that they're just going to happen at times. If you have a chronic illness or a disability, you are going to have days where you can't do what you normally do. Forgive yourself. Give yourself leeway on those days. And going hand in hand with that, when I plan my schedule, and I plan a year, and then I plan quarters at a time. So each quarter I make adjustments based on what happened that quarter. But when I plan out my projects, my books that I'm writing, when I write down the schedule and I plan out how many days I'm going to be writing and how many days I'll edit, because I know approximately how much I can write per day. After the editing, I don't take much time between books, but I do plan out several days with nothing on it. And those days, if I have a bad day and I can't write, that makes up for it because I'll have that extra time. I can adjust. So I try to plan out at least 4 or 5 extra days at the end of a project, at the end of the editing period that I've, basically guesstimated, to where there's nothing on the schedule. And that way, if I have bad days, I can move it forward. And if I have really good quarter and I come out, everything on time, then I can start the next project early if I want, or I can take those days and play. The next tip I would have for you is, I have bad tendonitis and I occasionally use Dragon software. Now, dictating is a whole nother can of worms. It does have a learning curve, but on the days when my wrists hurt so bad I can barely move my fingers, I can sit down and I can dictate. Although I will give you this one little caveat with it. I have found certain books don't want to be dictated. There are certain books I almost have to write, on the keyboard rather than dictating. And I don't know why this is. It's just the vagaries of how I work. But I find this out pretty quickly. And I can usually tell it's certain series especially. Like Bewitching Bedlam, I can dictate no problem. Wild Hunt, a lot more difficult to dictate. So, yeah. But dragon is a goddess send when I need some rest on my hands. Now, my 8th tip is turn off social media. When you are coming up on your work, or even before, like if you say you're going to write from 8 a.m. until 1. Don't sit down at your computer and go on Facebook before you go work. Sit down at your computer, check your schedule, maybe watch a few minutes of a cute video. But I find Twitter and Facebook especially total time sucks and energy sucks. And pretty soon you're going to go, oh my God, it's 9:30 and I haven't been writing and I'm still here answering, yelling at somebody on Twitter and answering questions on Facebook. Those do not need to be your priorities. The work is your priority. The writing comes first. Social media comes afterwards. Unless you are a social media guru and that is your job, try to make sure that it's an afterthought rather than the main act. And to do that, I recommend, I have a software called Antisocial, which allows me to block certain websites. It is made by the company who now makes a software called Freedom, which does the same thing. It's just an updated version of it. I recommend setting that up because you can then block yourself from certain websites for a certain amount of time. And for instance, my Antisocial, it will not let me go to those websites unless I reboot first if I'm still in that time frame that I blocked myself off. And that's been so helpful because a lot of times, I'll work through it and, the 3 hours I've set it for comes up and I just reset it. It's almost automatic at that point. Whereas if I try to rely on my discipline, self-discipline, doesn't usually work quite as well. So first thing, set Antisocial or Freedom or whatever software blocking, site blocking software you can find. That's very helpful. And my last tip, eyes on your own lane. I'm very prolific. I can write really fast. A lot of writers can't. Some writers can write faster than me. I can look at them and go, oh, I wish I could write that fast. I wish I could write more. I wish I could write faster. While other writers are looking at me going, I wish I could write as fast as she does. That doesn't do anything but waste your energy. Or you can sit there going, well, I wish I didn't have any physical problems like that writer over there, because they can do this and this and this. Well, you know what? It would be nice. I would like that too. But the reality is we do have issues. We do have chronic illnesses. We do have disabilities. We do have things that limit our ability to function on a continual basis. We work around it. That's the best you can do. And, honestly, having chronic illness has made me more empathetic towards other people who have problems. It's also made me very aware that a number of illnesses and a number of disabilities are invisible. Mine are, for the most part, invisible. You don't look at me and see MCAS written across my head, except maybe when I'm having a reaction, and you may see me covered in hives or having, an itching session, which is flushing up my face or something. But otherwise, you wouldn't look at me and go, oh, she has, something that could throw her into anaphylaxis and into the hospital. Or that knocks her out for a day every now and then with a horrible reaction. It's made me realize just how you cannot necessarily judge that somebody's life is better than yours by just looking at them or their life. For a long time, people assumed that Sam and I had, this perfect life and stuff. But, in our disability videos we're now making, I think people are seeing that we don't. we have a lot of issues to deal with. We have a lot of things to work around. We don't have the perfect life. There is no charmed life. So I guess what I'm saying is keep your eyes on your own lane. Only focus on what your job is, what your books are. Nobody else can write the books you can write. You can't write the books I can write. We all have our own talent. We all have our own strengths. We all have our own weaknesses. And that's the way it is in this world. So embrace your strengths, forgive your weaknesses, and find ways around those obstructions that make it difficult for you to live a full life. Because even with disability, even with chronic illness, you can have a joyful life. You can have a happy life. Nobody's happy all the time. Nobody's saying that you need to be happy all the time. But you can have joy and happiness no matter what. There are always joyful things in this world, and there's always beauty in this world. And I highly encourage you to start treating your body in a gentle way. Treat yourself with forgiveness. Treat yourself with kindness. If you had a friend who had special needs, wouldn't you do extra things to go out of your way to help them? Do that for yourself. So, that's going to be it this time. Oh, it ran longer than I thought. But I hope you enjoyed the video. And I will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.